The nuclear button is in Putin's hand. This is how the dead hand is released. The statements of Russian President Vladimir Putin yesterday, Saturday, about his country concluding an agreement with its neighbor Belarus to deploy tactical nuclear weapons on its territory, brought new light to the details of the Russian nuclear arsenal, its size, and who controls it. The Arabs and the world, in names and numbers. This is Russia's huge nuclear stockpile. Amid rising tensions between Moscow and the West, especially the United States, and the recent accumulation of nuclear threats and insinuations about fears of the Russian side using any nuclear weapons, questions have surfaced about the authority that holds the reins of the decision regarding the possibility of using nuclear weapons in Russia, which inherited the Soviet Union's nuclear weapons. The world's largest stockpile of nuclear warheads. While the United States has about 1,644 strategic nuclear warheads already deployed. Who owns the nuclear decision? Russian President Vladimir Putin is the final decision-maker when it comes to the use of Russian nuclear weapons, both strategic and non-strategic, according to Russia's nuclear doctrine. He carries what is called a nuclear briefcase with him at all times. Is nuclear war approaching? Current Russian Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu and current Chief of General Staff Valery Gerasimov are also believed to hold two other portfolios. Essentially, this nuclear briefcase constitutes a communication tool that links the president to his senior military officers and then to the missile forces via the highly secret electronic command and control, Kazbek, network. Kazbek supports another system known as Kavkaz. Dead hand. But as a last resort, Putin could activate the so-called dead hand system, the computers that decide what is called doomsday, and direct a control missile to launch nuclear strikes. Footage broadcast by the Russian Zvezda TV channel in 2019 showed what it said at the time was one of the nuclear suitcases, which was equipped with a set of buttons. Nawawi, expressive, Istok. Two buttons appeared in a section called Command, one of which was a white play button and the other a red cancel button. But when does this system work? Of course it would if Russia believed it was facing a strategic nuclear attack. Then the president sends through briefcases a direct launch order to the General Staff and Reserve Command units that carry nuclear symbols. These commands are quickly relayed to various communication systems and units of the Strategic Missile Force, which are then fired at enemies or presumed attackers. It is noteworthy that the Federation of American Scientists had previously clarified that the Russian president currently controls about 5,977 of these warheads, as of 2022, compared to 5,428 controlled by U.S. President Joe Biden. However, he noted that approximately 1,500 of these warheads have been taken out of service, but may still be intact, while 2,889 are in reserve and 1,588 have been deployed as strategic warheads. While the Bulletin of Atomic Saints Foundation explained that about 812 of these warheads are being deployed on land-based ballistic missiles, about 576 on submarine-launched ballistic missiles, and about 200 on heavy bomber bases, according to what Reuters reported. In addition, Russia operates 10 nuclear-armed submarines that can carry a maximum of 800 warheads, and has between 60 and 70 nuclear bombers. It also has about 400 nuclear-armed intercontinental ballistic missiles, which can carry up to 1,185 warheads. In the end, all these numbers mean one thing, which is that both Moscow and Washington can destroy the world several times over. On March 23, 1983, U.S. President Ronald Reagan announced the beginning of the establishment of a large-scale missile defense system on Earth and in space, capable of intercepting and destroying Soviet ballistic missiles. Reagan indicated in a famous television speech that the Strategic Defense Initiative, known as Star Wars, would be able to protect the American homeland from any nuclear threat, declaring that he was ordering a comprehensive and intensive effort to conduct a long-term research and development program to achieve our ultimate goal of eliminating the threat posed by strategic missiles with nuclear warheads. That speech was the opening of the Strategic Defense Initiative program, which included the construction of a powerful anti-missile dome, the main elements of which would be stationed in near-Earth orbit. The main American goal of the Strategic Defense Initiative is to achieve complete dominance in outer space, allowing the destruction of ballistic missiles and warheads at all stages of their flight. Initially, the Star Wars program was an exclusive project for the Americans, but the United States NATO allies soon joined it. This program significantly exceeded, in terms of complexity, all previous defense projects, and only a small part of its components had to use military technologies known and more or less available at that time, while the basis of the Star Wars strike force relied on the development of weapons on new physical principles. Reagan's Star Wars project aroused widespread interest in the international community, as it provided for the deployment of combat lasers, anti-missiles capable of destroying enemy ballistic missiles in outer space, as well as supersensors and powerful computers capable of guiding lasers and interceptor missiles. In what later turned out to be just a major American trick to drag the Soviet Union into a new, vast arms race that was depleting its capabilities, the American president at the time claimed that American scientists, along with their allies, had begun developing a program that could achieve the goal of destroying the threat posed by strategic nuclear missiles. Reagan Maya.